So let's talk about ultralight backpacking. Hi, this is Puffin. Today we're going to talk about ultralight backpacking. We're going to define it, and we're going to talk about why it's something that you might want to embrace when you do a section or a thru hike on the Appalachian Trail. We're also going to talk about how you can implement these principles to make your hiking experience much more enjoyable. So what is ultralight backpacking? Well, Wikipedia defines ultralight backpacking as generally someone who carries a base weight of less than or equal to 10 pounds. Base weight is basically all the gear you need, including your pack and everything in it, excluding consumables such as water, fuel, and food. Wikipedia goes on to say that anyone that carries less than about 15 pounds in their base weight is considered a light hiker. Which is best for you is something that you'll need to decide on when you look at what you're going to carry with you, what's essential and what's not essential. Most hikers who are not embracing some principles of lightweight or ultralight backpacking find that they're typically carrying between 15 or 30 pounds in their base weight. Once you add on the weight of water and food and fuel and other consumables onto that, you may be talking about packs that are in the 40 to 50 pound range. Hiking a long distance with a pack that weighs that much puts an awful lot of stress and strain on your joints, increases the amount of calories that you burn when you hike, and then further increases the food that you need to carry. So it's kind of a vicious circle that you get into if you don't try to lighten your load. I've also come to conclude during my hiking adventures that a paradox exists with thru hiking. And that paradox is the further you hike, the less you carry. It's for just those reasons that you want to embrace ultralight backpacking that this paradox exists. The less you carry, the further you can hike. So ultralight backpacking kind of got its start back in the early 90s when Ray Jardine published the PCT Hiker's Handbook and advocated carrying base weights approaching 10 pounds. Although if you really look at the history, it goes back much further. One of the most famous AT thru hikers was Grandma Gatewood, who hiked the Appalachian Trail in the 1950s. Grandma Gatewood hiked in a pair of Converse sneakers and carried a satchel over her shoulder that had nothing more than a poncho, an umbrella, a pot, and a few other essentials. One of the things that I do when I evaluate what I'm going to put in my pack for a section hike is how much something weighs and then how far I'm going to carry it. For example, an item that weighs 1 ounce may not seem like it weighs that much and won't add that much to your pack. But when you consider that you're going to carry that ounce for 500 miles, 1,000 miles, or maybe even 2,000 miles, that amount of weight actually can really add up over that distance, and you may want to reconsider whether or not you bring that item. Okay, so once you've decided that lightweight or ultralight backpacking is a good idea for you, how do you go about making it happen? Well, there's a list of things that you can do to get started and start reducing your base weight. The first thing is to get yourself a scale and literally weigh every single item that you're going to carry. Once you're aware of everything you have and what it weighs, then you can start evaluating where you can reduce your weight. The second thing to do is to start reducing the weight of each individual item that you have. Many ultralight backpackers kind of get made fun of because they're cutting labels out of their clothes and cutting down the handles on their toothbrushes and those kind of things. But literally every single gram you don't have to carry will save you some weight on your back. Number 3 is to ration the items that you carry. You don't need a full tube of toothpaste, for example, when you go backpacking. You can carry a small tube or part of a tube, and I actually now have dried toothpaste tablets that weigh even less. If you're traveling with other people, you can also share your gear. For example, you can sleep in a 2-person tent and one person can carry the tent. The other person could carry the cook set if you're going to cook together. Number 5 on the list is to lighten the weight on your feet. There's a well-known saying that a pound on your feet is worth 2 or 4 or 5 or 10 pounds on your back. So having lighter weight shoes can make a huge difference. This is why trail runners have become so immensely popular amongst thru hikers. Next on the list is to get multi-purpose gear. So any piece of gear that you have that will serve multiple functions can save you weight. For example, getting a tent that will use your trekking poles to hold it up instead of bringing separate poles will save you weight. The next thing on your list is to swap gear for skills. So this requires a lot of knowledge, and you have to kind of know what your skill set is and how your skill set can replace things that you need to bring. But sometimes this can lead to some savings. The next thing you can do is start replacing your gear. What I mean here is to find gear that weighs less. So for example, instead of having a huge heavy sleeping bag, getting yourself a down quilt can save you a lot of weight and actually have you sleeping warmer in the cold weather. Sometimes these changes can be expensive. No, there's plenty of places you can go on the internet and look for resources to help you find lighter weight gear that's not necessarily that much more expensive. Finally, and probably the most reliable method to reduce the weight in your pack is actually just to carry less. You should reevaluate every single thing that you have in your pack and decide whether or not you need it. I typically try to look at things that I have and I put them in a category of something I'm going to use every single day or something I need for safety. If it doesn't fall in those two categories, I really try not to bring it. So this is the scale that I currently weigh all my backpacking gear on. I picked it up on Amazon a few years ago. It doesn't really matter what scale you have as long as you can weigh things in grams or ounces. This particular scale weighs in all sorts of different units. I usually weigh in grams and then convert to ounces or ultimately into pounds when I talk about pack weight. The scale comes with a little tray that you can flip over to hold things in, and then once you put the tray on top, you just re-zero here, and then you're ready to weigh your items. So one of the other things I do is keep track of my weight on a spreadsheet. This is actually a website called Weigh My Gear where you can put in your gear and total up the weight. Here I've got a lot of my gear already entered for my upcoming section hike starting this coming March. On the right of this you can see the summary of what I have in my pack. I have my main pack listed here, my shelter and my sleeping quilt and all sorts of other items. I'm going to add my food bag here, and so I'm going to go down here to food and water over here on the left, and I'm going to put in food container number 2, and here I'm going to put in my DIY DCF food bag, and I've weighed my bag and it weighs 28 grams. So I'm going to put 28 in here, and then I'm going to click the little arrow here, and now if you look over here on the right side, food container do DIY DCF food bag, and that weighs just a little bit under 1 ounce. So that's now added, and you can see with what I have in my pack so far, when you go down to the bottom, is it currently weighs 12 pounds and about 5 ounces. So I'm still got some work to do. Ideally, I'm going to have my base weight be 12 pounds, but typically when I go in the winter when it's colder, my base weight may be as much as 16 pounds. So in this example, I've replaced my old food bag, which weighed almost 70 grams, with a new DCF food bag, which weighs under 30 grams. I've saved 40 grams worth of weight which I won't be carrying over my 400-mile section hike. That 40 grams over 400 miles translates into 36-pound miles. So I look at that as saying that change in food bag has saved me carrying 36 pounds on my back. So I hope you found this useful. You don't have to be a super ultralight backpacker like Jukebox, who I met in Shenandoah National Park in 2015. But certainly I think you'll find it worthwhile to reduce your pack weight and lighten the load and increase the miles that you're capable of doing when you do your section hike or thru hike.